today, Stephen?
He was kind of annoying me this morning. Good Lord. I guess he had so much pent-up energy, and he's just running around and in circles outside at 6 o'clock in the morning. And
must be the cool weather.
Yeah,
right?
He likes it, I guess. He's a poodle, so they got like sheep's wool, pretty much. And
yeah.
I don't know.
Sheep's wool.
I don't know. Is that what you call it?
I don't know.
Sheep, the wool of sheep?
Yeah.
Is like what is their fur called? Wool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering if I was confusing myself.
No. You are accurate.
It's like a carpet. Poodles have like carpet hair.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
But they're hypoallergenic, and a single hair follicle will not fall off of them unless shaved. They don't shed whatsoever.
Is that true?
Yes.
Had no idea.
It's the greatest dog, temperament-wise, except for this morning.
You seem to love your dog.
No, he's a good dog. Me and my wife aren't really dog people, so it has to be this dog.
Yeah.
Because we'll probably never get another dog after this.
Does Sophie love the dog?
I would say generally apathetic.
Yeah.
But lately we'll tell like, pet Ben, and she'll go over there and pet him. And get our congratulations for doing it. So she likes that. So. Yeah.
What if as adult human beings we treat each other the way we speak to like toddlers?
Some of y'all probably need it, I think.
Drink your coffee, Stephen. Good boy. Yay.
I'm kind of happy. You called and gave your opinion. Yeah.
Oh, man. Things that pop into our minds.
But whenever someone's mad and you do that to them, sarcastically, that's probably the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes you so.
That's true. All right,
or if you tell your spouse you're acting like a child.
Yeah, that always works well.
Yeah, that's always a winner.
I have a feeling your spouse says that more to you than you do to her.
She doesn't really argue. She hates arguing. It's like the deathly silence. I'm the arguer.
Okay.
Like I annoyingly have to fix it then and there.
Yeah.
And I'll argue. I'm like, hey, but what do you think? And then my downfall is to gaslight somebody.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to learn not to do that. I got to be better.
Our guest coming up at 8:05 today is Ann Bossom. She'll be speaking at the West Side Regional Library tomorrow at 6. She was actually the speaker at Rotary yesterday as well. She's written a book called White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, then Rewrote the History. So that could be an interesting discussion. So we'll look forward to talking with her. And that, again, is coming up in our 8 o'clock hour. In the meantime, we do have some open line time for you. We have a few topics that we want to get into as well. And one thing I wanted to talk a little bit more about, because I think it got glanced over in this area, but how cool was it on Monday when you had both LSU and LSU Shreveport's baseball teams, both national champions, one in the NCAA, one in the NAIA, at the White House with President Trump. And I took some time to watch the whole thing yesterday and really enjoyed actually just kind of the banter and the fun spirit of it, and President Trump being kind of his jovial self. I had a few fun comments, so let's just listen to one. This is one where he's talking a little bit about Cade Anderson, LSU star pitcher.
Now, LSU's pitching staff was the best in the conference, leading the nation with 760 strikeouts. Cade Anderson was ranked college baseball's #1 player on the mound. I would like to represent him. I'm leaving the White House immediately. Oh, the money. Oh, somebody's going to make some. Where's Cade? Where is Cade? Where are you, Cade? Come here, Cade.
He did talk a lot about the potential for some of these guys to make money, because you had a number of LSU players that were drafted, and that's kind of what he broke into next. Give me a second here. I'm kind of queuing it up. And yeah, here's where he talks about that.
Of this elite squad are now headed to even greater glory in the Major League Baseball. I think you're going to do all right. I would like to represent every single one. No, I mean, the team must be incredible. Cade Anderson was drafted by the Seattle Mariners, so I think, aren't they playing a big game tonight or something like that? Are you going to be watching?
They lost.
That? I think so. You better be. Yes, I'm so busy I don't get to watch baseball too much. I did watch the other night, however. I turned on, and there happened to be a Japanese player who was not bad. He was one of the best pitchers I've ever seen, one of the best hitters I've ever seen. And that all makes for a nice contract. He's pretty good, right? Pretty amazing when you think. They say one of the best games ever played because you had pitching and hitting at this with the same guy. Pretty exciting. Chase Shores was drafted by the Los Angeles Angels. Where's Chase? Where's Chase? Good. Wow, nice big tall guy. Very good. Good. Anthony Ianson and Jacob Myers were drafted by the Boston Red Sox. Boy, you have good. Where is Anthony? Is Anthony here? Anthony right here? Good luck, huh? Good team. Good team. And Ethan Frey was drafted by the Houston Astros. Another good team. They win a lot, right? Where is he? Where is that guy, huh? Good luck, huh? You feel confident? Good. Daniel Dickerson were drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. Where's Daniel? Congratulations. Good luck, huh? Okay. Jared Jones was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jared, congratulations. Yeah. And Cade Woods, who's not present, who wanted to be here so badly, had a problem, was drafted by the Atlanta Braves. That's fantastic. I mean, that's a lot of talent. By the way, we have somebody here who was drafted in another sport, number one in everything. He was never drafted number 2 or 3. The great Herschel Walker is here, I understand. Where's Herschel? Where's Herschel? Come here. Come here, Herschel.
Herschel Walker was there. Pretty cool. And then he kind of introduced both teams, started talking a little bit about the pilots of LSU Shreveport. And here's a little bit more about what he had to say. Oops, just getting this queued up. Give me a second. I keep going past the spot. All right, here's him talking a little bit about LSU Shreveport.
That's a fantastic thing. This team fought hard all the way through the last game of the season, the NAIA National Championship against Southeastern University, which supposedly is a great opponent, and your frankly opponents quickly took the lead in the first 2 innings, but you refused to fold or quit or do the thing that we're used to seeing a lot of people do in Washington. They quit, they fold. We don't fold, do we, huh? We don't fold. Jose Saloren, who is supposed to be a terrific prospect for the future, drove in 2, and Anthony Swenda scored on a wild pitch in the next inning. The game was tied. Where's Anthony? Is he here? Anthony, good going. Come here, Anthony. Get over here. Southeastern pulled ahead again, but the Pilots answered in a thunderous fashion. Home runs by Jackson Searing and Ian Montz, and they say they're tremendous prospects also. And clutch RBIs from Ryan Davenport and Austin Gome turned the tide very quickly. By the 8th inning, the Pilots were in full command, adding 3 more runs before slamming the door shut. When it was over, the scoreboard read 13-7, and the Pilots were national champions. Wow, that's great, fellas.
Cracked me up when he was talking about like their handshakes, how strong they were and everything, because Trump kind of has a famous way of shaking hands with people where he kind of like does the yank and pulls them in. All right. And then he had House Speaker Mike Johnson come up and make some comments. And then finally LSU coach Jay Johnson coming to the podium. And here's what he had to say.
I take away from you is work ethic. Some we preach, and nobody works harder for America than you. So thank you for setting a good example. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Leader, thank you so much for getting us here. It's an honor. It's an honor of a lifetime to be in the house of the greatest country in the world. And these guys had to do it on the field to make that happen. But we're here because of your efforts. And to have Louisiana so well represented by you two is outstanding. We are the college baseball capital of the world for 2025. Well represented in Washington as well.
All right, so that was a little bit from Monday's ceremony. I know afterward that the LSU players, the baseball players, recreated that scene that the football team did back in 2020. Remember when they were in the Oval Office and they did get the GAT?
Mm-hmm. I saw it.
LSU baseball. Except I was reading the comments and everyone was like, yeah, but where's the hot blonde mom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did it. It was just a bunch of dudes this time, I guess.
Yeah. So
what LSUS did was far more impressive than LSU. They should have been the leads in that.
Think so?
59-0 in baseball.
I know, it's crazy.
That's insane. I don't care what level. I don't care if it's St. Mary's Little Girls League. If you go 59-0, it's pretty amazing in baseball.
It is. It is. Well, I didn't write the script for that. That's just how it went.
No, I'm just saying, generally speaking, I think that's still one of the most amazing seasons in sports history.
Steve Scalise was there. He talked about Scalise being a good baseball player and remembering the time when he had gotten shot while at practice and then came back and played in that congressional game. And he said, sure enough, the first pitch right to Steve at second base. And he fielded and made the throw. And he said, then they took him out. So then he started talking about Bobby Richardson, who was a great player for the Yankees back in the 60s, also played second base. So I guess they knew each other.
But the one thing that stuck out to me was how any president finds time to watch even a second of sporting.
Yeah, really. Well,
I know they do it, but...
Yeah, he said he doesn't get to do it much, but he did happen to catch the game the other night. Of course, he was talking about the Ohtani game where he hit the 3 home runs and struck out 10 in 6 innings.
I guess you find out a way to do it, but just living somewhat of a normal existence seems out of the question.
If you were a president, would you still find time to watch the Cowboys?
I don't know. I'm not judging. This is not me judging. I just find it amazing.
Yeah.
I know Obama did, and I don't know what Biden did. But.
Yeah. I'm sure with anything in life, you have to have a little bit of downtime somewhere along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Trump doesn't seem to take much. That guy, he does work pretty tirelessly. Just that last weekend, that wild schedule he had when he went to the Middle East and then came back and they had the Charlie Kirk ceremony and looked like he slept about 4 hours in 3 days. It's insane. But
he's looking a little tired sometimes.
Kind of like you.
He's looking a little tired sometimes.
Yeah, he's
got to be careful. He's getting old.
He is. It'll catch up with you too, Stephen.
I'm not judging. I'm grateful if I make it to that age.
All right. Well, we'll take a break and we'll come back and take some of your calls here on Talkback.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock futures are down following disappointing earnings from Netflix. The world's most valuable entertainment company posted quarterly operating income of almost $3.25 billion. That's about $400 million below its own forecast and analyst estimates. Investors now bracing for Tesla earnings today after the bell. Walmart has paused offers to overseas job candidates requiring the H-1B visas for highly skilled specialized work. It's over the Trump administration's $100,000 visa fee. The current guideline primarily impacts Walmart's corporate employees. The company is the largest user of H-1B visas among major retail chains. Anthropic's reportedly in talks with Google about a deal for cloud computing services valued in the high tens of billions of dollars. And not as many people drinking Heineken these days. The Dutch brewer narrowed its profit forecast range and adjusted its growth outlook due to inflation and lower demand in countries like the U.S. and Brazil. Beer volume dropped by more than 4%. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
Did you know you could be missing out on some of the coolest events in town? With the Rapides Parish Library's easy online calendar, you get instant access to workshops, painting classes, book clubs, and more, right from your phone or computer. Just click, search, sign up, and show up. Unlock a world of learning, events, fun, and online access. all with your RPL library card. Visit rpl.org and get connected today.
Well, a nice start to our Wednesday, and it looks like this forecast is going to stick around for at least another couple of days. Good morning, sunny skies today, 79 will do it for the afternoon high. Winds out of the east, northeast at about 5 to 10. Skies pretty much clear overnight, 46 the overnight low. And then more sunshine on Thursday, afternoon highs climbing up to 82. For the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Grayson.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Now back to Talk Back, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, welcome back, everyone, on Talk Back here on your Wednesday morning. Al Quarterman along with Stephen Maxwell. Today is the birthday of Christopher Lloyd, the actor, 87 years old. Father Jim, or Reverend Jim, as he was sometimes called on Taxi, and Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Were you a Taxi fan, Stephen? Did you ever watch Taxi?
Not really. Just a couple
I feel like you would love it.
Yeah, probably.
Knowing your humor, you would like it.
I might watch it.
My favorite Father Jim episode is when he goes to the DMV. He has to update his license, and he's taking the written test, and all the other people from the cab company are there kind of waiting over by the table, and he's sitting in the seats. All of a sudden he goes, "Hey, what does a yellow light mean?" And Bobby goes, "Slow down. What does a yellow light mean? Slow down. What does..." Thinking he meant to slow down, asking a question.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
How's that kind of humor?
I gotcha. Yeah, I'd probably like it.
Which is always good.
I would enjoy it, for sure. I love sitcoms.
Yeah. That was one of the best ones of all time. All right,
my favorite is probably Coach.
Oh, I know you love
Or
Coach.
Wings.
Yeah.
I love Wings.
Those were the kind of 1980s, I guess, late 80s.
Mm-hmm. Wings, Coach, Seinfeld.
Yeah.
All the like.
Good choices, good selections.
Even Friends.
Well...
You're a little too old for those.
Yeah, Friends was... I'd kind of moved beyond it at that point, but
I was much
I know a lot of people like that.
My humor by then. You wouldn't understand British comedy, Al.
That's true. I wouldn't. I feel like my zone for sitcoms was probably the 70s.
I got you.
Again, a lot of good ones. 70s, 80s, 60s, 60s, 70s.
What's good now? Past 10 years.
Boy, I couldn't really tell you. I don't know. Everybody Loves Raymond was a good one too.
That's more like 20 years ago, huh?
Yeah, it was in the early to mid 2000s. Yeah, about 20. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It really is. I don't really know what's hot right now.
Is it Community? That one's pretty funny. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that one.
I'm trying to think if that's the one I'm thinking of. No, that's not the one I'm thinking
It's not really a sitcom, but one of the newer shows I like is Only Murders in the Building. Because you have Steve Martin and Martin Short together.
That's a movie, huh?
No, it's more like a...
miniseries?
Yeah, it's more like a miniseries. It's kind of a crime drama where...
New Girl's pretty funny.
New Girl?
Yeah.
Not familiar with that one.
No, it's pretty funny.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
It's a newer sitcom.
Okay.
It's not like what you think. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a woman who had to find roommates, and she has to live with a bunch of dudes.
Oh, okay.
And you can imagine all the stuff that goes on.
Okay. All right. Well, our number 318-442-8255, and let's go to the BOM Bank Talk line. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
The Office. The Office is what's good now.
Yeah.
There's no modern stuff that's worth anything.
I mean, The
It's
Office
all
is 20 years old, but everybody still watches.
I was thinking some of the past couple of years.
Well, that was the last comedy where they weren't afraid to offend people, and it was. I mean, they did stuff with gays and the Mexican Oscar, and so I still watch it every night. But I was actually calling about the sports. I'm usually intimidated to call in on sports segment because talking sports with you is kind of like shooting hoops with Michael Jordan. No matter how many I make in a row, I'm still inferior in every capacity. But I was wondering, I've listened, and y'all haven't said anything about the Auburn controversy. I was hoping Trish would call in. Maybe she did when I wasn't listening. But y'all remember when Kirby Smart lied on national television? Did y'all get that? Did y'all see that?
No.
The Auburn and Georgia game? Okay. Well, Auburn owned the first half. Big Mo was on their side the whole first half of the game. They only got a 7-point lead on Georgia. But near the end of the game, Auburn was still winning, and the play clock was about to run out. And Kirby Smart runs down the sideline and says, timeout, timeout, timeout. The side judge whistles for a timeout. Then he says, no, I wasn't called a timeout. I was clapping. And the side judge and the white hat have a long discussion, and they say, okay, inadvertent whistle, we're going to replay. So he got a timeout because it was about to lose 5 yards on delay of game. And what he forgot was that he's being videotaped from 17 different angles. Right. They played it with his hand and his mouth saying timeout. He said, no, I was just clapping because I was trying to tell you that Auburn's defense was clapping to draw us off sides. And so he answered it once in the press conference. He said, I wasn't doing that, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. Went on. That was I was ashamed of that because I had heard that he was a believer, professed to be a believer. And believers aren't perfect. The Bible's full of them failing. You can read it and see. But that was just, I thought Trish would have called in and really complained about that. But I was also wanting to pre-call for this woman you're going to have at the 8 o'clock hour. I have a dentist appointment. I'm almost due now. Oh, no. And I won't even be able to be there tomorrow when she's there because I'll be in Leesville for the next 2 days. But, bashing the South is a slam dunk these days. In today's woke America, it's easy to do. I don't know what she's going to say. I've heard some people tell me about what she said in other presentations. And I just hope she doesn't disparage some of the men from the South who were godly men and did do good things in their lives after the war. Robert E. Lee especially, he did a lot to keep the South from going into 20 or 30 years of guerrilla warfare. He did a lot to bring the country back together, and I don't know if she's going to touch on that or say that I'm one of those revisionists. And I hope she talks about Stonewall Jackson because I know he was against slavery. His father-in-law, who was a Presbyterian minister, was rabidly against slavery and left the South when Virginia seceded and was his lifelong mentor. And he died in the middle of the war. And so his story about, starting Sunday schools for all the little slave children everywhere he went, a lot of Southerners were against that, but they couldn't speak against General Jackson because he was a celebrity. So anyways, I don't know I'll try to listen to y'all. I'm going to have my headset in if my dentist allows me to leave that in and listen, but I just wanted to kind of get in a jab before. Anyway, thanks for listening.
I can tell you from kind of the book description we got, it basically says that the narrative around what really happened was warped as they created an alternate history now known as the Lost Cause.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that argument.
These lies still manifest today through criticism of critical race theory, book banning, unequal funding for education, and more. White Lies is an impeccably researched chronicle filled with photos, robust back matter, additional resources, and more that fans of Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States will enjoy.
Oh, yes. They will enjoy it. That tells me all I need to know. The hue and cry. Oh, not enough funding for education. And, so anyways, I'm glad she's coming on y'all's show. I hope some people will call in. I texted Mr. Flynn this morning. I hope he gets it and he could take her to school. But anyways, y'all are doing a great job getting both sides out. And I hope it's a lively discussion.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Y'all have a great day.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, anybody that wants to come on our show, we're more than welcome, and we'll be, of course, always cordial. And I'm looking forward to just hearing what she has to say. So, and she currently lives in Beloit, Wisconsin, so that's a positive for sure. You've never been to Beloit, though?
Never been to Beloit.
You've been through it. We drove through it when we drove up to Milwaukee.
Just listen to what she has to say, everybody, and we can discuss it out.
Yeah. No.
She's an award-winning historian.
Yeah.
She probably knows what she's talking about.
We probably don't.
Yeah.
We never do. All right, we'll take a break.
KSYL.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter. At the clinics, your health is our priority. Whether it's a routine checkup or ongoing care, we are here for you. Dr. Noah Miller, our newest family medicine physician, along with 5 other dedicated family physicians, are now accepting new patients. Schedule your appointment today. And remember, if you're ever admitted to the hospital, our doctors will see you there too. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinics, 1587 North Bolton, 445-9823, online at theclinics.us.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
If it's happening in Cenla,
We will.
have a spooktacular time at the Pineville Family Fall Fest, Thursday, October 23rd at the Ward 9 Sports Complex. It's free. Enjoy a petting zoo, jumpers, hot dogs, and candy for everyone. Starts at 6.
If you're 55 and up, come to the Halloween Trunk or Treat Thursday the 30th at Magnolia Baptist Church, presented by Rapides Council on Aging. Stop by from 11 till 2 for free refreshments, fun, and info about senior services available to you.
Get ready for action as Louisiana Christian University presents Dorm Wars on Friday, November 7th. Come to Wildcat Stadium at 1 for an Olympic-style competition between dorms. Who will be the champion?
If you love Billy Joel, Friday, November 14th is your night. Huckleberry Brewing Company presents the Billy Joel Tribute featuring NOLA's Rob Davis. The show starts at 7. Get the details on Facebook.
Make your plans now.
Cenla Broadcasting.
A message from Israel Air Conditioning and Heating.
Yeah, my mama, she told me to pick up and call Israel Air.
She told me Israel Air. She told me.
She said they'll come running with comfort beyond compare.
At a very fair price.
Because you know we're all about your comfort, no troubles. Call 442-6657. That's 442-6657. We're all about your comfort,
It's Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
All right, we're back with Alan Steven. Yeah, apparently we really did miss a big thing with Kirby Smart there. Trish is texting me, talking about what happened, saying it was right after they'd gotten a bad call for their touchdown and it was called back. She's like, how did you miss the whole Kirby Smart timeout issue? It's a meme all over the place.
I haven't seen it one time. It really, your algorithm caters to what you watch.
I guess so, and I think that was like a week ago, so I think that was the weekend we were up at Tech for my son's volleyball game. Plus, it was the Brewers playoffs still.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that the day they beat the Cubs to beat the... No. But anyway, I was still
didn't see it 'cause I have no idea.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. Oh, well.
What's the unchristianly thing he did? I don't even know. I just heard that part. I was reading.
Apparently, like the video shows him calling a timeout, and then he claimed afterwards that he didn't call a timeout, that he was clapping. So people are posting the video, and they're like, does this look like clapping to you?
Mm.
He didn't own it, basically.
Oh.
So.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. Okay. You know how seriously some people
No, I've taken it very seriously my whole life. I'm joking.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was a catch. Yeah. All right. Back to the phones. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning. How y'all doing? Really enjoy the show.
Thanks.
How's Mason doing in his volleyball at Tech?
Pretty well so far. They just had one exhibition game against UL. They played pretty well. They actually have a tournament coming up this weekend in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he's doing well at Tech. It's one of the quality universities as far as the what you pay to go and the education that you receive for the dollar. So
Ruston's nice.
Anyway, Al, you never did come by and get your bus form for your jersey.
My what? Wait, what?
Your bus form to put your jersey on, to put at your house. But anyway, the reason I'm calling today is
wait. I'm forgetting what you're talking about. My bus
mannequin bus form. The mannequin bus form.
Bust form. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. You were giving away stuff at JCPenney, right? Yeah. Fixtures and such.
Right.
You still have some?
Yeah. I do have some bus forms. If you're a mannequin form that you're interested in, just let me know. But the reason I was calling, we're having a hiring event the next 3 days for holiday. So trying to give some people some opportunity to earn some extra money during the holiday season that may have other jobs and or drop the kids off at school in the morning and can only work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we have some flexible hours there, but really, really enjoy your show, guys. Appreciate what y'all do. Appreciate what y'all do for the community, and I'm very proud of Mason going to Louisiana Tech. Outstanding job.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So again, the hiring is a little fair you're having. Oops, you lost me. All right.
You know, Tech would be on the top of my list if I were to go now.
Really?
Yeah. It's a nice school.
Wait, you wouldn't come to LC and learn under me again?
I would. Didn't say that wasn't at the top of my list.
Okay. That's good. No, Ruston
LSUA too.
Seems like a great place.
Yeah, Ruston's nice.
Plus, they're about to have a Buc-ee's.
That's true.
So it would have been dangerous if.
Why go to college if you can go make like 100,000 in Buc-ee's?
You make more scrubbing toilets than you would as a entry-level reporter.
Not even close.
Isn't that crazy?
Everyone thinks we're joking.
No, we're serious.
Some companies change their minimum wage to a little bit higher.
Yeah, like $15 an hour.
It is 18.
It's 18 and so on. Okay.
And a lot of people make 18.
Yeah.
So. And it's because you have to go to college for 4 years to do this.
Yes.
It's not like, you know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, TV used to be a sexy industry that so many young people wanted to get into that companies would, I mean, when I started in Rhinelander in 1990, my salary was $250 a week. $250 a week. And we only had a Sunday night newscast. We didn't have Saturday news because we didn't have a big enough staff. So if I did the Sunday night sports, they would pay me an extra $25. So of course I was going to do that. I was working 6 days a week for $275.
I want to say this. Yeah, I'm going to say it. The TV industry has been one of the most abusive to its employees in the history of America.
Yeah. Yeah. Across the board.
If you take out like the Industrial Revolution.
The kid with the little pipe.
Yeah. In modern American history. And not just like physically, which it is physically demanding sometimes, but I'm just talking about like, okay, it's really not physically demanding, but emotionally, right? Yeah. It's a tough one. Yeah. So you got to put up with people's crap. You got to be paid very little. You don't get your holidays. You know, I have to negotiate Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Right.
Or sometimes just work both.
Yeah.
And for what? You know, like if you're just starting out, that's why they get so burnt out. They quit.
Yeah.
Now, you can make pretty good money if you're a decently long-time anchor, depending on the market.
Right.
You can make money. It's a tough one.
Yeah. And now they're wondering why young people don't want to go into it.
And they're still stuck in that mindset.
Crazy thing is that, you know, he mentioned Mason. My son Mason does his own YouTube channel and actually makes some decent money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I see that becoming more of a trend for people that, and a lot of them are already learning those skills. And now with AI, you're going to be able to create stunning videos without even going on shooting. It's just, I don't know.
Well, here at Sinlaw Updates, it's handcrafted.
That's right.
Homemade. AI is not a part of it.
It's almost like craft brew.
Yeah.
All right, another call. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Hey.
Hello.
Good morning, Al and Steven.
Good morning.
How are y'all?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing good. Sorry, Al, I know you're still in mourning about your Brewers.
I'm over it. I'm over it. Trust me.
He's not. I see him cry.
I don't think he's going to be able to function for another week or so, Steven. You're going to have to carry him.
I've been worried.
He always does.
Getting back to the Kirby Smart situation, that is ridiculous. And if you haven't seen the video, you need to go and watch it. It's absolutely absurd that he was allowed to get away and do that. But you got to go back and watch Lane Kiffin this past weekend, the Ole Miss coach. He does legitimately call a timeout, and he wants a timeout, but when the line judge comes to him on the sideline, he looks at the line judge and goes, I was just clapping. And him and the line judge absolutely have a moment where he puts his arm around him, and they both start laughing.
Wow.
Now, their back is to the camera, but you can tell that they're both laughing about the situation. And again, last night in the NBA, which started last night, at the end of the first overtime, Kevin Durant signaled for a timeout, and they were out of timeouts. And the NBA didn't even do anything about that. They allowed him to do that because they said they didn't recognize the timeout.
Wow.
I think it's an out for the officials. I think it's ridiculous. The SEC needs to do something about that to correct the matter, because you need to know, especially as the head coach of your football team, if you do not have a timeout left when you're going to do that. And in high school and in college football, the only person that can call a timeout is the head coach.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all were aware of that or not, but nobody
was not. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I've got a long break here and I got to take it because we're at the top of the hour. Thanks so much for the call.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
For over 35 years, Security Metal Roofing has been Cenla's trusted name for metal buildings and roofing. When it comes to the highest quality materials at rock-bottom prices and top-tier service, nobody does it better. And don't worry, great prices doesn't mean cutting corners. Our Cool Chemistry color sheeting comes with a 40-year warranty, plus the peace of mind that comes with a team that has over 150 years of combined experience. From sheeting and red iron to roll-up doors and insulation, you get more for your money at Security Metal Roofing. Whether you need a new roof, carport, or are building your dream shop, we're here to help every step of the way. Apples to apples, we won't be undersold, and that's a guarantee. Call 445-0223 for your quote today, or visit us at Security Metal Roofing on Masonic Drive in Alexandria, or online at securitymetalroofing.com. Security Metal Roofing, your local experts in metal roofing and buildings, where quality, service, and price come together.
Central Louisiana has what it takes. Strong workforce, perfect location, and a legacy of getting things done. That's why Beaver Lake Renewable Energy is producing clean fuel in Pineville, investing $2.5 billion, bringing 1,100 construction jobs, 600 permanent jobs, and millions in local tax revenue. Made here, powered by us. Visit BeaverLakeEnergy.com and see how we're putting Central Louisiana back on the map.
Is your website accessible to everyone? If it's not WCAG compliant, you could be excluding customers and opening yourself up to lawsuits. At Kinetics, we build and optimize websites that meet WCAG accessibility standards, helping you serve more people, convert more customers, and stay compliant with ADA guidelines. Don't risk it. Get your free website accessibility assessment today at kinetics.solutions. That's kinetics.solutions. Kinetics, where smart marketing works.
My wife was frying okra. She's from Mississippi, so that's her favorite thing to do. She left the burner on high, and it didn't take long to ignite. So I ran to the stove, grabbed the pot, and that's when I got burned from a grease fire. And yes, the pain was, it was bad. Oh, Blue Cross treated me great with the recovery process. On the financial side, it would be expensive without Blue Cross. And that's what I was worrying about because I was out of work for 3 months. I'm Chad. I'm from Baton Rouge, and I had Blue Cross for 10 years. I don't eat fried okra. That's the funniest story.
Louisiana Blue. The right card, the right care.
Even if you haven't traveled abroad, you know that different places have different customs. Even here in the U.S., Americans who live in the Northeast tend to be more blunt and fast-talking than many Southerners, for example. In Hawaii, it's considered routine to remove your shoes when visiting someone's home. From America's #1 travel radio show, this is your Arm World Travel Minute. I'm Rudy Max. In France,
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting.
AM 970, FM 104.9, KSYL, and KRRV 100.
Rocketing cost of health care as Democrats and Republicans in Congress remain at odds over expiring subsidies that have ushered the government shutdown into its 22nd day. Correspondent Michael Wallace has new numbers.
The nonprofit KFF surveyed 1,800 employers and found the cost of their family health insurance plans rose 6% this year to $27,000. Insurers blame rising rates of illnesses like cancer in the working age population. More employers are passing the burden on to their employees in the form of higher deductibles and co-payments.
As for the shutdown, more furloughed federal workers like Melissa Westbrook are heading to food pantries to make ends meet.
We don't know when it's going to end, and I need to pay my bills.
The Senate will hold a 12th vote on a bill to end the stalemate today. Majority Leader John Thune.
We're hopeful that this will be the week when we break out of this and the Democrats come to their senses.
The Senate is expected to vote tomorrow on a GOP bill that could pay some federal employees who are working during the shutdown, including active duty military and other essential employees. Pomp and circumstance in Jerusalem for the visit of a top U.S. official.
Standing next to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Vice President J.D. Vance said the next stage of the ceasefire will be challenging.
We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza.
The U.S. brokered ceasefire signed earlier this month has faced challenges as Israel and Hamas have each accused the other of violating it. Linda Gradstein for CBS News, Jerusalem.
Tense face-offs with ICE agents on both coasts. In New York City, it began when masked officers started a roundup operation. CBS's Tom Hansen is there.
Agents descended on Canal Street in Chinatown, targeting street vendors, allegedly selling designer knockoffs. As protesters made their way to the Federal Plaza to demand the release of ICE detainees, more agents arrived, armed in combat gear and a military vehicle.
TikTok streamer has a court appearance in L.A. a day after he and a U.S. Marshal were wounded by a bullet that ricocheted from an ICE agent. Tourists in Paris are back at the Louvre 3 days after thieves made off with more than $100 million worth of the French crown jewels.
Astonishing that they were able to do something like that in such a short amount of time with no one really noticing what was going on. Right. So it really was like an ultimate heist in the middle of the day. It almost sounded like a movie, just like a movie.
Still no arrests, still no sign of those priceless gems. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Not only does Progressive let you bundle your insurance, they also give you round-the-clock protection. Quote today at Progressive.com.
Vanity Fair calls BritBox a delicious streamer. Collider says everyone should be watching. Catch Britain's next best series with BritBox. Stream acclaimed new originals like Code of Silence.
You read Lips, right?
And Lily, based on the best-selling mystery series.
Say hi, Lily. Take it from here.
And don't miss the new season of Karen Perry coming this October.
You don't look like police. Oh, take that as a compliment.
See it differently when you stream the best of British TV with BritBox. Watch with a free trial today.
Get a great deal on select Kubota construction equipment featuring durable Kubota engines. More comfort, more productivity, more get it done right. Right now, write it off a lot and write it off your taxes for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 36 months or save up to $4,500. Now through December 31st. Subject to credit approval. Consult your tax advisor. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full details.
River Valley Tractor. 10 locations across Central Arkansas and East Texas. Or rivervalleytractor.com.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Sean Burns. Bessie has created the Artificial Intelligence Committee, a group of education, technology, business, and policy leaders who will look at how to expand AI integration in Louisiana classrooms and workforce development programs. Louisiana Tech President Dr. Jim Henderson chairs the new committee and says one of the major goals is to determine how Louisiana schools can prepare students for an AI-driven economy.
Is to extend this beyond the classroom and ensure that families have a level of comfort with something that, regardless of your opinion of it, is here, and it's going to impact everybody's life.
Parents of young children, the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children wants your help on an annual parent poll. LPIC's Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Libby Saunier, says each response helps to depict a clearer picture of what's working and where families need more support.
We hear oftentimes from our elected officials that they want Louisiana data and they want to hear from Louisiana parents. And this is one way that Louisiana parents can have their voices be heard.
Louisiana Radio Network.
You too could have a beautiful smile in as little as 12 weeks. Exclusive to Today's Dental in Pineville, Virtual Align Clear Aligners, the fastest, most convenient, affordable way to straighten your teeth for people on the go. Plus, they're invisible. No one will know you're doing it. Experience the Virtual Align difference. Call Today's Dental at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. 448-4540.
A nice start to our Wednesday, and it looks like this forecast is going to stick around for at least another couple of days. Good morning, sunny skies today, 79. We'll do it for the afternoon high. Winds out of the east, northeast at about 5 to 10. Skies pretty much clear overnight, 46 the overnight low. And then more sunshine on Thursday, afternoon highs climbing up to 82. From the Zenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Grayson.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
All right, we are back with hour number 2 of Talkback here on a Wednesday. Al Quartermont along with Stephen Maxwell. Glad you could be with us. If some of you were at the Downtown Rotary Club meeting yesterday, you got to hear our next guest. And if you are planning to attend tomorrow night's Westside Regional Library meeting of the local Authors Club, you'll get to hear her there as well. Her name is Ann Bossum. She's currently a resident of southern Wisconsin, Beloit to be more specific, author of 18 different books. Some of them have even been children's books. And her latest book is called White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, Then Rewrote the History. Ann Bossum joins us in the studio along with Michael Wynn, our local favorite author. Or one of our favorite authors.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Ann, thank you so much for being on this morning.
I'm so delighted. Thank you.
Yeah. So first, let me start with, I got to ask you about the obvious. Being a Wisconsin resident, you originally are not from Wisconsin, but you've lived there, you said, over 40 years now?
45 years.
Wow.
And the reason I moved there was because I was raised in Virginia, born in Tennessee, and one of my favorite things was snow. And I was quite irritated by how fast it would melt. And so when it was time to go to college, I looked at the map and thought, wow, maybe the snow will last longer in Wisconsin. And as you would know, it does.
Yes, especially northern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I lived in Rhinelander for 10 years. I grew up in the Milwaukee area, but very well familiar with Beloit. For a while, that was the Class A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, Stephen.
There you go. The Beloit what?
They were the Snappers. Yeah.
Snappers.
See?
Okay.
She knows. I think, do they still have baseball there?
They do still have baseball. Regrettably, they renamed the team the Flying Carp or something like that.
Oh, gosh.
It's a terrible logo. The turtle was much better.
Yeah, I thought that was like an Illinois thing, the Flying Carp. But anyway, it's a nice area. And you've worked at Beloit College, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a graduate.
Graduate, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. And as people watch the World Series this year, they might want to know that Joe Davis, the lead play-by-play announcer, also went to Beloit College.
That is true. We have many notable alums, and because it's a great state, right?
That's right. Little private school
About how
Yes,
many?
about 1,000 students,
Okay.
1,200.
All right.
Mhm,
Oh, wow.
mhm.
So it's kind of like a Louisiana Christian University.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, so let's talk about the book, White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, Then Rewrote History. First of all, what was your motivation to write this?
Well, this is really it's a life's work. Of all my books, this one has more of my lived experience as a backstory to it. As I mentioned, I was born and raised in the South. I grew up in Lexington, Virginia, which is chock-a-block full of Confederate commemoration because of the Washington College that Robert E. Lee came to after the Civil War, where he served as the president. That's now Washington and Lee University. Virginia Military Institute, where cadets were involved in one of the battles of the Civil War. Lots of, as I put it yesterday at the Rotary, famous dead bodies, which when I was a little kid, that seemed to be like how you measured history. Robert E. Lee's buried there. Stonewall Jackson's buried there. Their horses are there, one underground, one above ground, stuffed in a museum. So the Confederacy was very much front and center in my childhood surroundings and also in my textbooks. And over time, as I moved beyond the South to find that snow in Wisconsin and then began researching and writing about history, I came to realize that not everything I had been taught in school was accurate. And that set me on a multi-year quest for understanding to figure out why that was and what the motivations had been for misleading people about various facts about the Civil War, if there had even been motivations or if it had just been clumsiness or whatever. And that culminates in this book about my, not so much told from a personal perspective, but an analysis that involved a great deal of historical study and reading and travel, visiting monuments and so forth, trying to peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, to get to the heart of the story.
And I think when you look at the title, when you have in there How the South Lost the Civil War, Then Rewrote the History, normally the history is written by the war winners. So I'm guessing that's purposeful for how you wrote that title.
Yes, and I speak to that in the introduction of the book. It's one of the unusual features of the Civil War. The northern states were ready to move on looking forward with Reconstruction and the constitutional amendments that were passed. And the southern states, for a variety of reasons, including the need for the southern white elite that had led the South into what proved to be its essential destruction, to come up with an explanation for how that had happened that might reduce some of the blame and judgment that they received.
I'm sure it's a lot that you covered in the book, obviously. What are some of the main concerns that you have with what you call revisionist history?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that's the label I've put on it, but I would just say, especially as someone who's spent 25 years writing principally for young people, children and teens, and as somebody who feels like my textbooks lied to me, I think it's important to be being honest with people growing up, but also with ourselves about what the history was. One of the things I explain in the book is that personally, and one of the reasons I'm here in the Alexandria Pineville area is because this is where my mother's family was from.
Oh, wow.
And I had great-great-great-grandfathers who fought on both sides of the war. So W.C. Beale, which is a name some people will know, is one of the people who helped to found and support Louisiana College, now Louisiana Christian University, was my great-grandfather. Wow. And his father was a Civil War soldier who died from camp illness, never got to meet one another. And that's a story I grew up with, knowing that my mother knew this Civil War soldier's widow until she was 10 years old. There were 5 generations of the family that survived through this lineage. So I'd had a lot of connections to the human story behind our history, and that made it seem important to me to try to honor those by getting the facts right.
On that note, as being from Wisconsin, coming down here, living in the South, getting to experience both cultures, what I sense on a lot of people on the part of the South, or why they're so strong about defending it, is that they felt that even though we had the two sides, that the character of a lot of the men who were in the war effort, people like Lee, was misrepresented, I guess would be the word. How does your book take that approach, or how does it look at that particular issue? You know what I'm saying? How people will look at someone like that and say, he was a Christian man, he was a fine man. If it weren't for the fact that it's a civil war, he's a guy that served the country admirably. How do you address things like that?
That's a great question. And, I grew up walking past Lee's tomb every day after school for at least one grade, if not two, because of where my elementary schools were located. I had to take a hard and fast look at what I had been taught and had learned about Lee. One of the things, I read a lot of books. The bibliography in the back of my book is multiple pages long, showing how much research went into this. And one of the books I read was one by another Southerner, Ty Seidule, retired U.S. Army, history professor at West Point. And he wrote a book a few years ago called Robert E. Lee and Me, where he did a kind of a combination of history and memoir about his own revelations about what he'd been taught about the Southern experience in history and what he had learned as a historian looking at the record of the history. And one of the points he makes very clearly, and I think this is an important point, is that Robert E. Lee was career U.S. military before the war, as were many of the people who fought on both sides. But it was very unusual, and Seidule put together the statistics. Lee was in the minority of people who turned against the United States and joined the Confederate fight at his rank. He was a colonel at the time, I believe, and he flat out calls him a traitor. That's Seidule's word for Lee, and that's how he thinks he should be viewed. And this is a respected historian. I have to take that point of view very seriously. And so that definitely informs how I write about Lee in the book.
As more of a traitor?
As somebody who had the same kind of complicated connections to the South and slavery and the U.S. military as many people around him, but who made choices to decide with the South. And I think in large part, and this is Seidule's point as well, and other historians, because that's where his financial stakes stood. Yeah. And were he to have stayed with the North, his property was all in the South. It would have probably been lost. He had multiple children. Their inheritances might have been lost. He had personal reasons as much as reasons of, these more glorious reasons of loyalty to Virginia and loyalty to the South that influenced him. And I think it's important to be honest about that.
Gotcha. We're talking with Ann Bossom. She is the author of the book, which is called White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War and Then Rewrote the History. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with more. And Ann is willing to take calls if any of you would like to respond. 318-442-8255 on the BOM Bank Talk Line.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
Starting a business can be overwhelming, especially when you do it alone. Don't do it alone. Take control of your future with a Janny King Gulf Coast franchise. With Janny King, you get guaranteed initial growth, reliable operational support, and ongoing education to set you up for success. Janny King has built a proven system that gives you the tools to take control of your future confidently and with the support you need to thrive. The future is yours today at JannyKingCleans.com.
Janny King This month, get ready for some spooky, family-friendly fun. Enjoy fall festivals, art walks, a zombie walk, trick-or-treating, and so much more. Plus, don't miss key events like the Van Gogh Gala annual fundraiser at River Oaks on October 18th and the Women in Business Conference October 30th and 31st at the Alexandria Convention Center, hosted by the Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce. Go to AlexandriaPinevilleLA.com for details and visit ExploreLouisiana.com to plan your trip today.
Alexandria, when it comes to your vehicle, you deserve the real deal. At Ceramic Pro Alexandria, we promise true ceramic window tints. No shortcuts, no substitutes. Our Ion and Ultimate Ion coatings are built to last, and we're proud to be one of the only ceramic coating companies that reports directly to Carfax, adding verified value to your vehicle's history. So for genuine quality and the peace of mind of Carfax reporting, just call Joe at Ceramic Pro, 318-619-0862.
The Greenhouse presents Your Pet's Message from Heaven. I know that you can't see me, but trust me, I'm right here. Although I'm up in heaven, my love for you stays near. So often I see you crying. Many times you call my name. I want so much to lick your face and ease some of your pain. But our loving God has promised me that when his time is right, you'll step out of the darkness and meet me in the light.
The Greenhouse.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BON Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BON Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
All right, welcome back, everyone, here on Talkback. Alan Stephen with you on a Wednesday morning. Our guest is Ann Bossom, author of White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, Then Rewrote the History. Michael Wynn is here as well, other local author and historian. And a few years ago, we saw a lot of national headlines when it came to the taking down of monuments or statues, things of that sort. Like even down in New Orleans at Lee Circle, they took down the Robert E. Lee statue that was there. It set off a lot of controversy, a lot of heated feelings. What are your thoughts on all that? Because even here in Alexandria, we still have a Confederate monument at the courthouse.
Sure. So when I started researching this book, and I'll tell this story tomorrow when we're at the Cenla Author Club meeting, I had a lot of questions I didn't know the answer to, like the one you asked about Robert E. Lee. How should I feel about Robert E. Lee before we had our break? How should I feel about these monuments? Should they be coming down? Should they be staying up? Are they history? Are they heritage? Are they propaganda? What are these monuments? And it took me quite a bit of time, quite a bit of reading, take a trip through the South, looking at monuments. In the course of writing other books, I'd seen a number of Confederate monuments, and that had partly set me on this quest in the first place, trying to understand how we came to have so many Confederate monuments. And I have come down, as have many people, on the side of the Confederate monuments are a complicated icon to decipher, but they are a version of they are a reflection of the segregated South. They were put up during Jim Crow era. They had multiple objectives. This very seemingly innocent objective of representing and honoring local soldiers, but also making statements in very public, legal places, like in front of courthouses, like in front of city halls, that the Confederacy remained important, even in a country that was the United States of America, and that what the Confederates had fought for, which was the preservation of enslavement, was worthy of being commemorated. And I find that troubling here in the 21st century to still be commemorating that.
Gotcha.
I'm sure not all your listeners would agree. Right. And as somebody who's a Southerner born and raised, that was a surprising conclusion for me to reach, but that's the one I've reached.
Has this put you at odds at all with any of your family from this area or from the South?
My mother left the South in the 40s, and primarily lived either in these states, Tennessee, Virginia, and then eventually my parents retired late in life to Wisconsin, actually. And so no, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was Elaine Holmes Brister, a name well known in the community as a historian. I think if Elaine and I could talk today, she and I would be in alignment by and large. In the course of doing this research, I went through old family papers, and I found a paper that my grandmother, who was a historian also, had written to deliver to the local chapter of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. At least I guess it was local. It's the same one that sponsored that statue. And about the Civil War history. And it's interesting, she did not join the United Daughters of the Confederacy, but she engaged with them, and I would hope to be able to do the same.
Sure. Stephen, I remember I was covering that story a few years ago.
And like we were talking about during the break, just kind of complicated ownership and everything, so it kind of muddles it. But when we see like Confederate flags still decently prevalent across the South, monuments, why do you think the meaning has changed over the past 150 years for some people? Why is it still being represented the way it is, in your opinion?
That's a good point too, Steve. I think there is there's a lot of lack of depth to how we relate to these symbols, because they've become so ubiquitous. They've been with us for so long. We sort of forget what they stand for, and we're reminded of other symbols. The United States flag. We study United States history. We pledge allegiance to the flag. That's more present and perhaps more authenticated than some of these other symbols, like the Confederate flag, which has become so broadly used. It's sort of lost its connection, but the fact that it was so often used in the past as a symbol of white supremacy is something that might cause people to pause before they continue to use it, if they think of it within that context.
It's something so odd to me, I would say most people out here are very pro-American, very patriotic, but to still use that symbol has been very odd for me as a Southern white person. It's very confusing why it's still being used to this day.
And I think it's lost its context, and that makes it easy to use it and to misuse it. But the fact that it still comes out at these moments, for example, in 2017, the protests at Charlottesville that led to the calamitous murder of Heather Heyer and so forth, the Confederate battle flag was there. The Confederate battle flag was there at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. It wasn't just there as an idle symbol. It took back on its meaning of Southern white supremacy in those contexts.
We're talking again with Ann Bossum. Mike Wynn is here as well. And Mike, I'm sure as a historian, you've looked a lot at the situation at the courthouse as well. And you're the one that reminded us in the break that's the 50% ownership, half city, half parish.
Yes, very briefly, our Confederate statue, as it's commonly called, also a memorial statue, as it's called, has a very unique history. It's one of the very last monuments of its kind that was ever erected in the South, erected between 1912, 1914. And its ownership, it was donated by the Daughters of the Confederacy to both the parish and the city. They each own 50% of it. It was originally at the city hall because the old parish courthouse along the river did not have enough room around it to be able to put it up. And then when the old city hall was torn down in '62, it was naturally moved to the parish courthouse grounds because the parish and the city own 50% of it each. And it has a very unique history and, of course, very controversial history in this times, and everybody should think about what its meaning is all about.
For sure. Yeah, well said.
This might be like too broad of a question too, but one thing we hear, at least I've heard throughout my life, what was the Civil War actually about, right? you hear different interpretations to make it fit a certain narrative.
Mhm.
What are some things you've gathered, and what are some clear-cut answers for you?
That was another one of the things, the questions I had as I undertook this book, because, again, as part of my personal journey and the backstory, about 10 to 12 years ago, a childhood friend of mine tracked down copies of our old Virginia State textbooks from the 1960s. And I was able to read those as an adult and as someone who had studied so much history and have a richer understanding of how to interpret what we had been taught. And the textbook leans in on this idea that the war, these old textbooks leans in on the idea that the war was fought for states' rights, and that the South had been fighting to defend its right as guaranteed in the Constitution to determine how it ran its own business. That is very misleading and disingenuous, and for a variety of reasons. And I'll give a couple of examples. The Constitution of the Confederate States of America is a very clear statement of intent to live as a country that has the slavery as its foundation, unlike the way the U.S. Constitution is written. And the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander H. Stephens, expressly made that point in multiple speeches after the Confederacy was formed, literally calling the slavery the foundation upon which the Confederacy was built. So I think that cuts through some of that states' rights business, which actually was sort of the retrofitting explanation that began to arise after the Civil War as much as during it. It was more explicitly about slavery as the decisions were being made by the very states. The other example I'll give, and I write about this extensively in the book, is the state of Virginia, which debated for a very long time, was it going to secede or not? It was not one of the states that immediately hopped out of the Union. And I was able to, quite a bit of history's been done about this, looking at the extended meetings that were had over weeks and months in Richmond between delegates who'd been elected by their communities to go and debate this. They had arrived, most of them being Unionists, meaning they were in favor of staying in the Union. And the first vote they took, the idea of on the question of secession failed. The Unionists prevailed, and it turned out that after that vote, the state of Virginia had as one of its central points of commerce the exchange of enslaved people from primarily from older established enslaved communities in the North to the booming cotton building that was going on in the South. And this was big business for these traders, these traffickers in enslaved people. And when they realized that Virginia might not join the Confederacy, they knew they were in trouble. And that's because that Constitution I mentioned said that only states that were in the Confederacy could trade in enslaved people. And so if Virginia had not joined the Confederacy, those traffickers were going to be out of business. And they leaned in then on those delegates. They started buying up papers around the state to change the sentiment of the population in favor of slavery. You can't tell me that war wasn't fought over slavery.
All right. And Awesome is our guest. We need to take a break. More coming up.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are struggling for direction this morning as earnings reports and company news provide a mixed picture of corporate profitability amid trade worries and geopolitical risks. Gold and silver have also extended declines after a bit of a slump. DraftKings is looking to expand beyond sports betting and capitalize on demand for wagering on future events. The company bought Railbird Technologies, and DraftKings says it plans to use the platform to launch DraftKings Predictions, where users will be able to trade bets on the outcomes of events in finance, culture, and entertainment. No word on how much DraftKings paid for Railbird. And President Trump pushed Coca-Cola to make Coke using U.S. cane sugar, but the company says it's having trouble getting its hands on enough sugar to ramp up production in glass bottles, similar to Mexican Coke. So it plans to roll out a limited supply in a few markets before scaling up heading into the new year. Cane sugar accounts for roughly 30% of the nation's sugar supply. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with the clinics. We provide primary, family, and chronic care along with gastroenterology, podiatry, with on-site lab and x-ray services. I'm pleased to welcome family physician Dr. Noah Miller to our team. We are currently accepting new patients and same-day appointments are available. If you're admitted into the hospital, our doctors will see you there as well. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinic's on North Bolton, 445-9823, and online at theclinics.us.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Sinla's best at Bricato's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt in your mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
Deer season is fast approaching, and Verzweifelt Farm in Boyce has just what you need. Stock up on high-quality, locally grown deer corn to attract those trophy bucks. This corn is triple clean, and they sell it in 50-pound bags or by the pallet. They'll load it, too, by appointment only. So give Trevor a call at 318-715-1322 or visit Verzweifelt Farms online. Remember, get your corn at the farm. That's Verzweifelt Farm on Hot Wells Road in Boyce, 318-715-1322.
A message from Israel Air Conditioning and Heating.
Yeah, my mama, she told me to pick up and call Israel Air.
She told me Israel Air. She told me.
She said they'll come running with comfort beyond compare.
At a very fair price.
Because you know we're all about your comfort, no troubles. Call 442-6657. That's 442-6657. We're all about your comfort,
So a nice start to our Wednesday, and it looks like this forecast is going to stick around for at least another couple of days. Good morning, sunny skies today, 79. We'll do it for the afternoon high. Winds out of the east, northeast at about 5 to 10. Skies pretty much clear overnight, 46 the overnight low. And then more sunshine on Thursday, afternoon highs climbing up to 82. From the Zenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
Talk back. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
All right, we're back. Ann Blossom is our guest, the author of White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, Then Rewrote the History. Michael Wynn is with us here as well. And I know we were talking in the break after Rotary, you had a discussion with a gentleman that was pretty passionate about some things, and then you were noting how you might actually have a common ancestor. It reminds me a little bit, you mentioned Charlottesville earlier, when President Trump made the comment that largely has been taken out of context since. There are good people on both sides of the issue. He was talking about the issue of tearing down the monuments and doing away with the symbols of the Confederacy. That there are people who feel strongly about keeping those symbols around. He termed them as being good people. How do you see that? Do you see that as people who just they want that history to be there so maybe we can learn from it, or a sense of whatever pride that they derive from that? How do you view that topic?
So I might disagree with you about interpreting the statement that Donald Trump made, but I do think that the gentleman that I spoke with during the Rotary meeting yesterday and afterwards, I respect the passion and the commitment that someone brings to the defense of these monuments. And I can appreciate that it can be personal if you have family members in your ancestry that participated defending the Confederacy, and that it could seem disrespectful to take them down. And I respect that point of view. I don't agree with it. I think that we need to remember, again, that the statues represent this concept of keeping people enslaved and fighting to do that. And that doesn't undermine the character of the people who, in good faith, went off and defended their new country. But that country was defeated. That country was rebelling against the United States of America. It's unusual to recognize rebels and traitors and defeated foes after a war has been concluded and they've been defeated. And it's particularly unusual to do that in public places where people have no choice but to do business. If you wanted to put something like that on private property, if you wanted to put that on a private museum that's honoring the Confederacy, if you wanted to put that in a cemetery, I think that's a battlefield. I think that's a much more appropriate location.
Gotcha. We do have a call coming in. Let's go ahead and take that. Good morning. You're on with Ann Boston.
Good morning. I think your opinions are based on your analysis, and I think analysis of old historical facts under present day norms and morals, and it can be very confusing. And I think in the language you're using, your opinions have come out to be pretty biased. And I appreciate you did it, and the South did lose, but I can tell just by the language. That's my opinion on things.
Okay.
Well, I respect that, and I think keep in mind, I'm now disputing things that I was taught and learned in school, and I'm still here. Many of your listeners probably were taught these same things and may not have done the historical research or continued to study this as I've done. And I think it's important to also point out that the actual profession of history has a regrettable past. The teaching of American history, the study of American history, grew out of a program primarily that was established at Columbia University in the after the Civil War in the late 19th century. Professor Dunning there was one of the first leaders of this, because we didn't have history programs from the beginning. This was a profession that was added somewhat later to academia. Professor Dunning was the leading historian and educator of historians at the time, and he himself had a very Southern-focused perspective that he brought to American history, as did many of the people who studied with him, who then went out and began writing about American history. And the research methods they used were flawed because the only body of material that they drew from was the body of history that was left behind by the whites who had been participating in it. So no slave, the memoirs of enslaved people, the oral histories of enslaved people were taken into account. The kinds of history that was preserved and was studied by these white historians was the kind of history that the United Daughters of the Confederacy very diligently went around collecting from all of the people who had Confederate ties to the Civil War, and who had been out of power during Reconstruction and who had resented the way that Reconstruction had passed the reins of power to non-whites and people who had previously been from the South but had not held that power before them. And so these accounts of history, because they used flawed methods, passed along a flawed understanding of what Reconstruction was like, what slavery was like, even what the Civil War was like. Mm-hmm. And it was not until the 1970s that historians began to go back and white historians, I should say, began to go back and look with greater detail at the record. Black historians were doing that. W.B. Du Bois being the first with his landmark book, Black Reconstruction, which looked extensively and excoriates this historical record as being inaccurate based on his wider view of the record. And that's a long answer, but I'm I'm not biased. I've just looked at a broader picture of the historical record, and that leads me to draw different conclusions. And I would encourage people who are interested in reevaluating what they were taught and learned to perhaps take a look at my book. And you don't have to buy it. Ask your library to get it. Check it out of a library. And if you still don't agree with me, then we can agree to disagree.
All right. And Boston, we'll be right back.
KSYL.
Ready for the ultimate game day? This football season, Southern Air and LSU Athletics want you as the Southern Air fan of the game. Each week, one lucky winner scores 4 LSU home game tickets, VIP hospitality, pregame sideline access, and the chance to cheer on the Tigers. Plus, all winners are entered to win a brand new side-by-side at season's end. Enter now at southernairnow.com or Southern Air's Facebook page. Southern Air, cooling, heating, plumbing, and generators. Learn more at southernairnow.com. Go Tigers.
You can start a rewarding career as an EMT sooner than you think. The National EMS Academy, a division of Acadian Ambulance, can train you in 12 weeks at their campus in Alexandria. Students who complete the class and pass the National Registry exam are eligible to work for Acadian Ambulance, then receive tuition reimbursement. Classes start November 17th. Make a difference. Become a medic. Learn more at becomeamedic.com/Alexandria.
Hi, I'm Rhett with Entergy Louisiana, and I'm a customer too. I'm proud to say that our rates are 33% below the national average. Every day, our team is focused on keeping costs lower for you. We take affordability personally because this is our home too. So we work harder and smarter to fight rising costs while also improving reliability for years to come. This isn't just my job, it's a commitment to my community. Together, we power life. Entergy.
Now back to Talk Back. 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, we're back. And Boston is our guest. White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, then rewrote the history. It's been a pretty fascinating conversation so far. We have another call coming in. Let's take that. Good morning. You're on Talk Back.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me the South lost the Civil War?
Indeed.
I'm not so sure.
So my question is, and you kind of touched on it previous segment. Did you find that the perceived harshness of Reconstruction led to this fantasy of the lost cause of South?
You're kind of breaking up.
You broke up, man.
I think what you asked was, did the lost cause partially spring from the perceived harshness, thank you, of Reconstruction? And I think that's accurate, although it was already beginning immediately after the defeat of the Confederacy, because you have to remember Abraham Lincoln's assassinated within days of the surrender of at Appomattox of Lee to General Grant, and we all know Abraham Lincoln was a member of the newly born Republican Party. When he ran for re-election, he took on as his running mate a Democrat in an effort to create a ticket that would lean across party lines. And that man was Andrew Johnson, a Southerner who had remained loyal to the Union and who had previously been an enslaver and who had a lot of sympathies for the South after the Civil War. And the initial experience of Reconstruction was not as harsh, if you want to use that term. It was very conciliatory and lenient until the Congress came back in session. It didn't sit as long as it does now, although some would say it doesn't sit very much even now. But when Congress came back in session, and this was a Republican-dominated Congress, there was intense conflict between the White House and Congress over the nature of Reconstruction. And Reconstruction, because of legislation that was passed, and then even when vetoed by Johnson, was overridden and went into effect, the federal troops presence in the South the protection of voting rights for black males in the South, the restrictions on who could hold offices in the South so that previous white leaders were not able, participants in the Confederacy were not able to hold office. All of that then led about this very more radical, that's one historical term for it, is radical Reconstruction, this more progressive, radical, comprehensive transformation of leadership in the South. And that was horrifying to the white elites who were losing power. They'd lost a lot of wealth during the because of the Civil War, and so yes, in an effort to try to regain power, they began to try to weave stories that would work to their advantage.
Well, didn't because Johnson was so conciliatory, didn't that lead to his impeachment?
I'm sure it didn't help, but there was actually an incident where he tried to fire a member of his cabinet, and the Congress didn't think the Constitution allowed him that power. I think I have that right. That's not an area of my expertise, but it was an argument over him choosing to remove a cabinet officer. I think it was the Secretary of War, but again, somebody can call in, correct me, because I'm sure that's wrong. But they were already pretty darn mad at Johnson by then. So I think an excuse was all it took.
Well, in the myth of the Northern takeover of the South and harsh Reconstruction really started when Ben Butler occupied New Orleans and freed the slaves, and you had people in New Orleans perceiving this Northerner coming in and changing their culture during the war. I mean, that was prior to the war actually ending. And Lee's surrender of Appomattox didn't really end the war because you had Albert Sidney Johnston running around in the Trans-Mississippi West. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on there that kind of led to the myth of the lost cause.
I think you are very smart to be pointing that out. This is extremely complicated history. I had friends who were wondering if I was ever going to finish writing this book because no sooner would I learn something than I realized that there was something I didn't know, and I had to keep reading. And clearly you've studied the record as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for the great call. One thing I wanted to ask kind of in conjunction with that, how much did D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation maybe lead to the rise of the pro-South, pro-Confederacy sentiment?
That's a very astute question and observation. It was transformational, the impact of that movie on the South. You think about, for one thing, it helped to bring the Ku Klux Klan back.
Right.
And the Klan had largely been put out of business during the Grant administration through the use of federal power to clamp down on vigilante violence, and people being outed and arrested and so forth. The Klan basically died. But the Birth of a Nation, there's a whole chapter in the book about this. The Birth of a Nation grew out of novels that had been written by a Southerner, and Griffith was a Southerner. They were sympathetic to the Lost Cause point of view, and that movie is propaganda. You couldn't have asked for better propaganda for the Lost Cause.
I show clips of it in my intro to mass communication class just because it was such a groundbreaking movie in terms of the technological advances, right, the techniques that were used, but it also became a largely propaganda movie. All right, we need to take a break. We'll come back with our final segment right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Central Louisiana has what it takes. Strong workforce, perfect location, and a legacy of getting things done. That's why Beaver Lake Renewable Energy is producing clean fuel in Pineville, investing $2.5 billion, bringing 1,100 construction jobs, 600 permanent jobs, and millions in local tax revenue. Made here, powered by us. Visit BeaverLakeEnergy.com and see how we're putting Central Louisiana back on the map.
Sunday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL, we close out October with a Week 8 clash in the NFC East as the Philadelphia Eagles host the New York Giants. Hi, this is Chris Carino. Join me alongside Brian Baldiger as the Giants head down the turnpike to take on the NFC East leading Eagles. Can Jackson Dart outduel Jalen Hurts for a second time? Giants-Eagles. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Sunday morning at 11:30 on your station for the NFL, 94.7 ESPN.
From Shreveport to New Orleans, from Baton Rouge to the Bayou, Louisiana's got your number. Introducing the new area code scratch-offs from the lottery. 318-504-225-985 and 337. 5 tickets, 5 chances to win up to $50,000. Whether you're fishing up north or boiling crawfish in Cajun country, every code's got cash waiting for you. Every corner of Louisiana's got a code, so show your pride and pick your digits with the area code scratch-offs. Top prize is a whopping $50,000. So what are you waiting on, Louisiana? Rep your code by dialing up some fun. Scratch your ticket and let the good times roll. 5 codes, 5 tickets, big wins. Louisiana Lottery, giving you a reason to dial. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Talk back. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
All right, our guest has been Ann Bossom. It's been an incredible interview, and if you'd like to know more about her book, White Lies, How the South Lost the Civil War, then Rewrote the History, you can find it on Amazon. She'll be speaking tomorrow at the Westside Regional Library at 6 o'clock. You were at Rotary yesterday.
I just loved that, and I appreciate that the chapter sponsored my visit here so that I could speak to them, speak to the community tomorrow night, and just to be able to be back in Pineville, Alexandria. I spent a summer here in 1965. I have family ties to be able to be back here, and this is the first place in the South I've talked about this book. It's perfect.
That's awesome. Love hearing that. Wanted to ask you about President Trump this year. They renamed the military installations like Fort Polk. It had been changed to Fort Johnson. Now Fort Polk, not named after a Confederate associated person. But what were your thoughts on all of that? And can you give me that in like a minute?
Okay, so my quick minute is that those decisions were all made by a commission that was established by Congress over the objections of Donald Trump. It's the only veto of his first term that Congress overrode. There was widespread support for all of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that the commission did a great job. And I think that it's unfortunate that their work is being reversed and probably illegal and probably will be challenged.
Gotcha. Somebody had written in asking, could you talk about the Colfax riot? Have you done much research on that?
I've read a bit about it, primarily because of the monuments that were put up and taken down related to it. I can't really speak to it very much, though, except I know it's an essential part of Louisiana history. And it's good that it's being talked about and studied.
All right. We want to mention you have several other books. Some of them are children's books. Titles like Ensnared in the Wolf's Lair, The March Against Fear, The Bard and the Book, the first folio saved the plays of William Shakespeare from oblivion. That sounds really interesting. Stephen would like this one, Stubby the War Dog.
Stubby.
It's about a dog from World War I.
A real dog.
Wow.
A real dog. Yeah. Stuffed in the museum at the Smithsonian.
Seriously? Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that looks like a great one, especially for like maybe junior high school kids.
Oh, yeah, even elementary school kids. They love that book. It's a good parent read. And then I also wrote a book for adults about it. So lots of variety and not all so serious.
Yeah, and Moonbeams, a lullaby of the phases of the moon.
So there you go.
All right, awesome. You have 18 books, I think I read.
This one makes 19.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's more than most people read.
Oh, I hope not.
He's looking at me saying that.
No, I really wasn't. Just making a joke.
Do you have a next book you're working on?
Yeah, I have 2 in the works, including one relating to Thomas Jefferson. So that'll be another serious look. But then the companion book that I'm working on, kind of for my mental relaxation, relates to the joy of libraries. So a little bit of both.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Speaking of libraries, she'll be at the West Side Regional Library tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Ann Bossum, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Appreciate it.
Michael, I've never heard you so quiet my whole life.
I was fascinated.
We'll have you back to let you talk again. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you. All right, Stephen, we'll talk with you tomorrow.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great Wednesday.